Let's talk about every power-up that the Straw Hats are going to get on Elbaf, because there are a few that are guaranteed and a few I don't think many people have thought about. While the arrival on Elbaf has not exactly been what we thought it would be, the chapters in Elbaf have thus far not done anything to dismiss what we thought might happen. So let's break down some of the potential upgrades that are currently awaiting the Straw Hat. While it's fair to say that any or even all of the Straw Hats could get power-ups, some seem more likely than others. I know which ones you want to know about, but give me a minute because I think all of these upgrades will happen for a reason, and I'm going to start by saying that Frankie is definitely a candidate for this. And in my opinion, he could get one of two massive upgrades. One of these is that he will upgrade or build a new General Frankie. Between the resources on Elbaf, as well as the fact Dr. Vegapunk is there, we could see an all-new model being built. This would likely have a Gundam/Pacific Rim hybrid in mind, where it truly is a giant robot. No, seriously, just picture a giant robot running around in one piece, much like the ancient one that we already had on Egghead. And while I do think that this is the most likely of his upgrades, there is a more potent one that I want to talk about here. That upgrade is the introduction of Green Blood and the fact that Frankie could end up with not one, not two, but 3 possible Devil Fruit powers. We still don't know how Green Blood works, if only the Seraphim can use it, or even how much can be manufactured. But if this fury works out, I think it could have one of 2 effects. One is that Frankie will be able to alternate between the 3 different Devil Fruits, selecting one at a time. The other is that they could actually be applied to different parts of his body that are inanimate objects, thus kind of feeding them like we know other Devil Fruits can be. This would actually let him use all 3 at once, but granted this one's more tenuous. Of course, it's also fair to argue that it's possible Green Blood might not have the same interaction as Devil Fruits, and he might actually be able to use all 3 at the same time anyway. The next person I see getting an upgrade here is Robin. Robin did just get her new demon form in Wano, but she didn't really get anything in Egghead, so we could see a new development here. There are only really 3 possibilities that I could see going to happen. One is that Robin is going to get experience with her Devil Fruit Awakening, thereby allowing her to create limitless copies. Number 2 is that she could train with Jinbe to further strengthen her Fishman Karate. And lastly, she could end up unlocking Armament Haki. It's most likely that the first or second option will happen, as Robin doesn't really want to be a karate expert. Now, either way, this could be traumatic, because in order to awaken a fruit, a couple of things have to happen. The first is that the user has to have full and complete mastery of both their fruit and themselves, usually both their physical body and at least bare minimum Haki. The second is that something so precious to them has to be threatened to the point of eradication. For Katakuri, that was his family. For Doflamingo, it was his dream of destroying the world. And for Luffy, it was leaving behind all those people he'd made promises to. Now, believe it or not, I do not think an awakening is quite ready for Robin. And that leaves us with armament hardening. And this is what I think Robin will unlock. I have the distinctive feeling that Saul will become endangered at some point during this arc, and this will push Robin to unlock Armament Hawk, much in the same way that Usopp unlocked it during Dressrosa to save Luffy. Next we have what I like to call the maybes category, which is about 4 characters who might get some kind of upgrade, but I think that's questionable at this point. The first of these is Nami, and while I am a firm believer that Nami will receive an upgrade at some point, I just don't think it will be here. As a matter of fact, the only reason that I put Nami here is because of the association that Vikings have with Thor and his hammer, as that was one of the known ways that thunderstorms were created in their mythology. There is a possibility that some phenomena like that will actually exist on Elbaf, and Nami could then adapt it, but it seems unlikely at this current stage. Jinbe is also one of the strongest members of the Straw Hat crew, and I don't see him getting an upgrade here. He's currently arguably a member of the Monster Trio, as Luffy now sits a tier above everyone else, and while I think it makes sense that the 3 primary defenders of the Straw Hat crew will all increase power equally from their current standings, I don't see Jinbe getting anything major here. As a matter of fact, I don't really see that for Sanji either, as he doesn't have any personal ties to Elbaf. And actually, it's kind of the same for Zoro as well. The one thing for Zoro is that some people say that his swords, in particular his free sword style, could have a relation to the 3 realms of Elbaf. But that's a bit of a tangential connection at this point, and I don't really see it manifesting unless some major development happens. But that does, of course, leave us with 2 characters who are primed for proper development during Elbaf and getting some major upgrades. Usopp is definitely on this path, and what lies at the end of it could have dramatic implications for everything going forward. Usopp is going to have to challenge everything he thinks and knows about Elbaf, the giant's culture, being a warrior of the sea, and through that exploration, we might gain something legendary. More than likely, this arc will involve an attack on Elbaf from the world government and this new Shanks brother clone, we'll see what it is. It will also probably reveal whether or not Loki is actually a bad guy. But in the process of this, a new devil fruit is going to be revealed. Whether this is the devil fruit Loki has already eaten or yet another one remains to be seen. But I do believe there will be another one. And in my opinion, this devil fruit will be the god of the earth, making it the opposite yet companion to Luffy's Nika sun god fruit. The fruit probably gives you the ability to manipulate the ground and move things around, but more prominently, I think it'll give you the ability to create things like plants and animals. This is because in Norse mythology, the giant Ymir was the first being in existence. When that giant died, his body became the earth itself, and Odin and his brothers sculpted much of the world as we understand it from that body. So I would definitely assume this fruit will give you some kind of powers of creation, wherever that is, rescaping the land or actually creating full objects, people, things. It will probably allow you to become a literal giant, and that seems quite fitting considering that Usopp himself has always dreamed of being a giant, and now he could actually be one. This of course leaves us with the last candidate to get an upgrade being Luffy. And while Luffy has always gotten progressively stronger each arc going forward, whether that was a power he already had or unlocked at the time, I think this one will be different and much more unexpected. Luffy will more than likely get an upgrade in this arc, but it won't be a standard power-up, instead it'll be one based around knowledge. Luffy still knows nothing about his fruit or even why the world government has treated it the way that it has. Not that he even knows that. Now don't get me wrong, I don't think he will care much about it at all because he doesn't care about history in general. Other than if it's something tragic that's happened to somebody, he'll feel empathy for them. I think more likely Robin and a couple of the other Straw Hats will get far more use out of understanding where the fruit came from and where it is, but it does do something for Luffy. If anything, this might very well help Luffy identify his idea of freedom and figure out how to push it even further. After all, this fruit alone really wasn't enough to win last time, so does that mean that he can actually use it to win now if he has a better understanding of its full ability? And this pretty much wraps up all of the Straw Hats. Obviously, Chopper and Brook did not get it here because I honestly don't see either of them getting upgrades in this particular arc. And at the time of recording, we are left with more questions than answers in regards to what's actually going to happen in Elbaf. But if you think anybody's going to get a specific upgrade, why don't you leave it in the comments below and subscribe to the channel if you want more theories like this.